Hey, good morning, you guys, or good afternoon, rather. I'm a couple minutes late, and I got my earbuds on in case you guys want to talk back to me. Um, I haven't told this story yet, and I was thinking about putting it up on the podcast. And this morning, I was like, hey, why not just go ahead and share this little bit of story with you? Let me say hello to you guys, and then I'm going to record it for the podcast too. It's a wild and crazy story, and it's something that I had to. Sorry, I'm going to start recording this. It's something that I had to like really embrace. So, gosh, it's almost. I think it's almost been a year since I had a quantum healing hypnosis session with one of our awesome group members, Laura Masters. If you guys are in the Michigan area, I highly recommend having one. It's almost taken me a year to kind of like digest everything that came out of it. So what happened with this QHHT session, or what happens when you go to get a QHHT session? First, you get to talk with your the person that's going to give it to you, facilitator, I guess you would call it. And they ask you a lot about your life and different key points about your life, so that if something comes up when you're under like hypnosis, essentially, that they'll be able to know that if it's a trigger for you, if it's something that needs to be brought up so that you can heal in this lifetime. And so then basically the QHHT practitioner will help you guide you down and get you down into like a hypnosis state. And so then basically they call it the cloud, right? You're floating on this cloud, and then you get off the cloud, and then you have to start sharing what you see. And so I'm not going to go into each one of my lifetimes. We went to 3 different lifetimes, I think, but I do want to share that how profound it was, and I do want to share about the final life. The first, and good morning, and there's a whole bunch of you jumping on live in our Your Spiritual Awakening community, but I'm recording this for the podcast too. Basically the QHHT pretty much takes you to other lifetimes, either on this planet or beyond. And that's exactly what I experienced. I don't think that even maybe one of the lifetimes was on planet Earth, but I'm not quite sure that that's where I was anyways. So the first lifetime I was really feeling awkward. I wasn't sure if I was just making that shit up. And a lot of times we feel that way when we're starting to develop into our intuition and mediumship, when we're starting to see visions and starting to feel feelings. We feel like we're freaking bananas and we're making this shit up. And that's kind of how I felt at first. But the longer we were in hypnosis, the heavy, like, I don't want to say I was heavy. It was a pleasant feeling. The more I just felt like I didn't want to move. And I was so comfortable, but I was still kind of there. Well, the third life really surprised me and the practitioner. I'm sure we talked about it because it was hilarious. And what I'm going to share with you still blows my own mind, right? Like, as a medium, I see crazy stuff, right? As an educator, I hear all of your crazy, wild stories, right? And then get to kind of figure out how that blends in with the different realms and with our different lifetimes. So we get into this lifetime, and I'm down by this beach, and I'm a little girl. I could even hear, and she sent me the recording. I haven't listened to it, but in my head, I could hear how I was kind of talking like a younger girl, and I was in trouble with my dad. I remember telling her, I'm in trouble with my dad because I'm always down here by the beach, and I should be doing my studies. I don't even know what era you could consider. Like, I had clothes, you know what I mean? We had a castle made of shells. It was really, really gnarly, like seashellish castle. But down beyond, there was this cave. And so I was like, I want to go in this cave. And I was like, oh my God, there's my dragon. And I know the practitioner was like, what do you mean a dragon? And I couldn't stop obsessing over how fat this dragon was. This dragon was so fat, it could like hardly move around in its cave, right? I mean, it was obese, like, but it was so old, right? And here's the part that just blows my mind is when you come out after all this session and you start getting validation about what you saw in this hypnosis, in this real life. So I was loving this dragon, right? And I think I wanted to stay talking with the dragon, and I think the practitioner was like, well, let's go somewhere else because this is just crazy. Although she let me spend time there, but I felt like there's such this connection with the dragon. Then we went up, and I saw like my father, and basically when you have a QHHT session, she kind of takes you and then goes, okay, let's fast forward to another important time in that lifetime. What lessons are you learning? Because essentially what happened after all 3 of the lifetimes, and this being the last one with the fat dragon, it was so amazing because all 3 lifetimes kind of had a similar story. And then I look at my lifetime and the time that we're in now, and it's like happening again. All 3 of these lifetimes, basically, I was a component in a part of society or a part of the world or a part of. I mean, I even had one with a big alien ship come. It was just really, really bizarre. I'll have to share that another time. But each time, it was a changing of the way society thinks, a changing of a belief that society believes. It was so interesting. We're helping, like, that last lifetime, there was a lot of people that were more cavemanish, I guess I want to say, or barbaric, I guess I want to say. And so we in the castle were helping them. I feel like maybe we were from a different place or something. I don't know. I'm getting a little confused now. But basically, everything was changing. It all connected together. And then you come into this lifetime, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm helping people think a different way, so that they can shift their reality, and then our whole consciousness can shift, right? So it's happening each time. So anyways, seeing the dad, I felt like he was kind of related to Zeus in some sort of fashion. He died in this lifetime, and somehow, I think I told her Capricorn. She goes, where did he go? And I'm like, he went to Capricorn. It was almost like that's where he originated from. So if any of you guys that are watching or listening understand what the hell I'm talking about, because I don't, is like, where is Capricorn? Like, what does Capricorn mean if you died and then you flew back to your home planet, Capricorn, like the star system Capricorn? So super interesting. That would be interesting to know. And she was interesting. I'm like, he went to the star. He went to the stars. So then before we ended this session, I was like, I want to go back to see my dragon again. So we go back down to see this dragon, and I shit you not, like, this dragon is smoking one of them long ass cigarettes, you know, with smoke. And it seemed like she was an older woman, but she was a dragon. And she also had like this crystal ball orb thing. She had this crystal ball orb thing. And we started looking in it. And then the practitioner, the facilitator of this QHHT session, was telling me, well, what's in the ball? This is the part that, like, I get all geeky about. And I'm like, well, that's how we communicate to the cloud people. It made complete sense. Like, why did this lady even ask me this question? She should know. We're talking to the cloud people through this orb, through this crystal orb. And it was so weird because another one of the lifetimes she took me, and we did go to a place in the clouds, and it was like a place of communication where like all different species come to, almost like, what is that? The Men in Black, you know, that movie where like all the aliens meet in that one place. It was almost like the cloud place was where all these different races and species met. But the dragon had the ball and was teaching me, the little girl, to look into the ball to communicate with the cloud people, I guess, so that we would know what to do next, right? Like maybe they were our guidance system. Well, so this isn't where it ended, right? So she brings me out of this meditation, and we wake up and we chat and we're laughing about this fat dragon, and we go out into, we had our session in Traverse City at the Higher Self bookstore. They were gracious enough to let us rent their room or use their room because the session, this lasted like 3.5 hours. I want to tell you, or like 3 hours. To go through all these lifetimes and then to talk about it afterwards. And then she gives you a recording. So anyway, we go out to Higher Self, and I start telling the staff about the fat dragon. And I shit you not, Kathy, if any of you guys are around here, Kafi, Kathy, says, well, of course your dragon had a ball. Don't you know they all have a ball, a seeing ball, right? And of course it was super ancient. She was saying that this dragon has obviously been like my guide through so many lifetimes. And that the dragons have this orb. And I'm like, shut the front door, because I never knew none of that. How many of you guys know that dragons have this little seeing ball? Either it's a crystal ball or it's like a floating orb that they are able to see into other realms, right? So that just validated that I wasn't making shit up and I wasn't crazy. And I still feel such this connection to that fat dragon. And it's still so funny why I keep having to call it fat, because it was so fat. Like it could hardly get around his cave. That's the other thing that Kathy said. She said that dragons very rarely will come out of their cave. They love to stay in their cave, and they get really freaking grouchy if you bother them in their cave. They don't ever want to come out. Because in the hypnosis, it never came out. When I went to the castle, it stayed in its little cave. It was crazy. So the point of the story is just to share that we're not crazy and we're not making stuff up. And that, if we explore other lifetimes on different realms, and I think this is why QHHT is blowing up, because it was created by Dolores Cannon. And if any of you guys know Dolores Cannon, she writes the most amazing books, because what she did, she was a regular hypnosis, and then one day her client went to a different place. They weren't on the planet Earth anymore, and she was like, this is so weird, I'm talking to the subconscious mind, it can't be lying to me. So she kept doing research, and sure enough, she was able to take these people through many past lives and start discovering different historical events, right, that happened way before we were on this planet, which is so amazing. It's so amazing. And the other part that happens that I didn't mention in a QHHT session is you're allowed to, before you go into the session, to write down things that you want your subconscious mind to scan your body to know about your health. Or if you have concerns about your health, you're allowed to write those down, or anything that you kind of want to change, like your money story. That's a good one. I'm pretty sure I put that on my list, and my money story has changed dramatically, I guess is the word, from just 6 months ago, from a year ago, from 2 years ago. But that session, you could hear yourself talking, but you're really communicating with your higher self, your subconscious. They call it the superconscious, right? Which is where all your programming comes from, and it is where you can have the answers. So it kind of gives you answers on what's the next steps you should do for your health or your money story, all of that. It is so awesome. Again, if you're near the Michigan area, that's the consultant, or I guess I don't know what I'm calling her, facilitator, is Laura Master. She's awesome. She does mostly, physical appointments, because it's so in detail and depth. I don't think most of those people do it online, which I think would be really cool if you could, but I understand the whole one-on-one physicalness of it. But it's really cool. I hope you guys liked my little story about how I met my fat dragon, and how I got validation that I wasn't crazy, right? And I wasn't making this stuff up. And I encourage you to have one of those sessions, or to find a little bit more out about it, because you'll be able to connect the dots to your life now, and kind of what your purpose is in this life now, and what you're really good at, because you've had all of these lifetimes to get good at it, right? So apparently, maybe I'm good at helping shifts happen in different planets or different realities. Is so cool. So thanks for listening, you guys. I will see you guys here tomorrow. I'd love to know what you think about my wild story. And off I go. Have a beautiful day.